I'm Tavis, Smiley. That's Michael Jackson. I'm delighted to have our guest in this hour. I look forward to this every year. I get a chance to talk to him more than once a year, but it is my way that every year during the first week of this program, I invite him on this show. He's always on the first week of the year to give us what we need for the year, help us get our minds right. He is the author of the iconic, the classic text, Success Runs in Our Race. He is Dr. George Fraser, whose insights will, as I said, get you ready to make the most of this year now that he's here for the rest of the hour. To talk about, among other things, the 7 critical currencies of life. I told you a couple hours ago, whatever you do, don't miss the third and final hour today. And so I am pleased to have on this program, as he is every year, during the first week of the year, Dr. George C. Fraser. Dr. Fraser, Happy New Year. How are you, sir?
A happy New Year to you, Tavis, and so good to be with you and our annual New Year's rant. So God bless you, my brother.
Oh
Good
no,
to,
it,
good to
it
be
it it ain't a rant. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff, and I am delighted that you were here, and glad we got you off that mute, and glad that I can hear you and the audience can hear you. So again, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you once again. Let me just start here. This is my way, as it always is with Dr. Fraser. I never set him up. I just follow him. So I've got a number of things I want to talk to you about, but you tell me where you want to start. You just jump in, and you know how I do it. I know how to get in where I fit in. Just start talking, George, and I'll jump when I need to.
that's a deal. I want to start with something today, a bit provocative, but will make people think and will help frame up building wealth and transferring that wealth intergenerationally.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a different spin on it, and again, a bit provocative. And it begins with with something, a quote I developed a long time ago, and it simply goes, "I asked for flowers, and God gave me rain."
Mm.
I'm gonna repeat that. I've asked for flowers, and God gave me rain. Now, unpack that, Dr. Fraser. God doesn't give us what we want in life, Tavis.
Mm.
He gives us what we need in order to become all that we want in life and to have what we want in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, God wants you to become something great. When He wants you to become something great, Tavis, He challenges us. Okay? When God wanted David to make David a king, He didn't give him a crown.
That's right.
He gave him Goliath. Right? When God wanted to free Job, he didn't give him a shortcut.
That's
He
right.
gave him prison.
That's right.
When God wanted to make Esther a queen, he didn't give her comfort, he gave her a crisis. When God wanted to make Moses a leader, he didn't give him a stage, he gave him the wilderness.
Mm.
Many times, when we feel like God is breaking us, really he is building us. And that's really what that means. That's what we have to focus on, is to build.
Mm.
But understand, if it was easy, why would God need you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It is not easy. It is not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to be able to overcome obstacles. And I talked about this with you. Oh, I forgot when it was,
Mm.
but one of my favorite quotes outside of the Bible is a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great Caesars. And he said this in 600 BC. He said that the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way.
Mm.
Right? It becomes the way. What is the first thing God does when He gives us an assignment? He puts an obstacle in our way.
Oh yeah.
I just quoted some biblical passages that were obstacles for some of the most memorable people in the Bible. He puts an obstacle in our way. And our job is to find a way over, around, through, and under those obstacles. Let's say the wealth gap is a huge obstacle. There's a major wealth gap between us and them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you overcome those obstacles, you get an attaboy and you get an attagirl from God, and then you get on with your assignment. And then what's the next thing God does when He gives you a new assignment? He puts an obstacle in your way. So it's over and over and over. Our life is about overcoming obstacles. In other words, understanding When you ask for flowers, you're going to get rain
Mm,
because there's something you need to learn. There's some way that you must grow
mm.
to get to what you want, to
He
get to what you have.
he is
Uh,
often hold that thought. He's often running. He's often. I tell you, I jump in when I have to, and only when I have to, because he is so good at this that I hate to interrupt. But this is radio, so I got to jump in at least 3 or 4 times in this hour. But he is often running. So the first notation is that when you ask for flowers, God will give you rain because the obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the way. If you're taking notes like I am, there's your first note in this master class that's being taught free of charge for you by George C. Fraser on Tavis Smiley.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in.
But we're okay with that.
You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed, and if you've missed the first 15 minutes of this conversation, you've already missed some richness from Dr. George C. Fraser. Thankfully for you, lucky for you, the podcast of this conversation will post later tonight. Now that you're here for the next 45, don't move because he got a lot of good stuff for you. But if you missed the first 15 minutes of this conversation, check out the podcast tonight when it's posted to hear Dr. Fraser unpack what he means by I asked for flowers and God gave me rain. He went in already. Again, check out the podcast if you missed the first 15 minutes. There are 4 notes that George Fraser sent to me last night. I'm going to let him work through all 4 of these notes as we move through the hour. But let me tell you where we're going in this master class today that you're getting for free. I asked for flowers and God gave me rain. He's unpacked that already. In no particular order, he will do it as he chooses to. We'll get to 3 other issues. Your legacy or not. Your legacy or not. He'll talk about that in this hour. The 7 critical currencies of life. The 7 critical currencies of life. He'll talk about that in this hour. And this one I'm waiting for him to get to. How fortunate we are to be able to die. How fortunate we are to be able to die. That's going to require some unpacking, as only Dr. George C. Fraser can do. It's going to be a great hour. Before I let you go to any of that, and it's your Jeopardy board, you choose to go where you want to go, and I'll follow you as I always do. But one quick follow-up. I'll have a few of those throughout this hour. But one quick follow-up on what you said already about I asked for flowers and God gave me rain. I was thinking that the opposite, George, of easy is entitlement. The opposite of easy is entitlement. Let me rephrase that. Not the opposite. Those are synonyms, basically. That's what I'm trying to say here. You made the point that the obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the way. I agree with that. You gave some great biblical examples of that. But one of the reasons why we expect easy, let me just get my frame right. One of the reasons why we expect easy is because we live in a world where too many of us are entitled. I see that amongst a lot of adults, but I especially see it amongst the young folk today. There is a sense that things should be easy because they have a sense of entitlement. So they're not the opposite. They are the same thing. Talk to me about this expectation that we have of ease and entitlement. But as you pointed out, that really ain't the way.
no, no. Entitlement is poison.
Mm,
It poisons your mind. It poisons your approach to life. It poisons your expectations. What are some of the obstacles? We talked about that. What are some of the obstacles? First of all, the power of perseverance. You've got to persevere. I grew up in orphanages and foster care on the mean streets of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. And I didn't have a lot of money. I really didn't have money to get my school supplies, but I had to figure out a way to do it myself. I wasn't waiting for them. As James Brown said, don't just open up the door and I'll get it myself.
get it
So
myself. That's
I,
it.
I,
Yeah.
I right, I started a lemonade stand. A lemonade stand where I sold very sweet lemonade, very sweet, because we know black people like sweet lemonade.
That's right.
But I also sold the lemonade was 5 cents and the water was 8 cents. So I knew when people, because they drink it right at your little lemonade stand, they drank this very sweet, very tasteful lemonade, but they wanted a cup of water after it because I know the sweetness, of course, makes you thirsty,
Mm-hmm.
and so I found a way. I persevered. Right, I opened up 3 little small businesses. Now you remember I'm 13, 14 years old,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I started a niche business of cleaning homes and cutting grass and raking leaves for elderly people. That
Mm.
was a niche. I made so much money doing it that, and I had, I'm from a family of 11, 8 boys and 3 girls. My brothers and sisters, I gave the work to them, and I got the business. Right. Then I
Mm.
started a car cleaning service, waxing service for elderly people, and that had more business than I could handle. And because I had a lot of brothers who could do the work, I paid them to do the work. And then I did something really outside of the box. Back in the day, because I'm 80 years old, back in the day, the only gender that did babysitting were young ladies.
Mm-hmm.
I started a male babysitting service for families that had sons that would like a young man to
Mm.
babysit instead of a young girl. So
Mm.
this is again the power of persevering, thinking outside of the box, and making a way when there is no way. That's who we are.
Mm.
We are a picture and a story of that. We have spent 400 years making a way out of no way. So that's one obstacle. We must not take anything for granted. We must not feel entitled. The only thing that you are entitled to are the things that you have earned. You're
Mm.
entitled to the earning from those things that you have given your blood, sweat, tear, and creativity to.
That's
What's
right.
another obstacle? Self education.
Mm.
Self education is key, especially for us. I'm sitting in my office building, and if we were on a Zoom call, Tavis, behind me is my library in my office. There are 2,500 books in my office, over 10,000 in my home. I read 100 books a year. I have a vocational diploma in carpentry. That's it.
Mm.
Okay. I am self educated because I fell in love with reading. And this is a real issue in our culture. The average American only reads one book a year. If black people read one book a month, in 5 years, they will have read 60 books. The average American will have only read five. You are going to be better prepared. So you got to be committed to lifelong learning, constant, never ending improvement. So this is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
That's an obstacle that we have to get better at. That doesn't mean all people, black people don't read. Just
Mm-hmm.
too many of
Sure,
us
sure.
don't read at the level that they should be reading. Then I talk about this all the time. This is where I got famous. You've got to build a strong support network. No question about that. You need mentors, you need coaches, you need older people along the way. You have to engage with others and serve them. One of the things I say when I talk about networking, if you want to meet important people, you have to be where important people are. They're not coming to you. And then find a way to add value, find a way to serve them, volunteer if you have to, but you want to be in the room, you want to be in the space, you want to be able to touch the hem of their cloth, and then be in the circles in which they are. That's just a huge influence on you. So you have to build a strong support network. I have a massive network. And listen, I believe that every great person, this is how big and broad my support network is. Every great person has at least one person who reminds them to keep their shoes tied.
Mm-hmm.
That's how, and that used to be my mother, right? Right, no question. So you have to understand the importance of hard work and sacrifice. Hard work and sacrifice. And you have to be patient.
Mm.
Hard work and sacrifice. You have to look at life. Let me give you a visual metaphor. Look at life that is as a steep a steep staircase, very steep staircase. And at the top of the staircase, Tavis, is your dream.
Mm.
You're on the first step. Now, you've got to get on the first step, right? So first things first, second things never. You got to get on the first step, do that with excellence, and then the second step becomes the next step, and eventually over time, because you're not going to climb steep staircases jumping three, four, five stairs at a time.
That's right.
It's one step at a time. That requires sacrifice, hard work, doing what we're supposed to be doing on that particular step, and then get to the next step. So this is extraordinary. These are obstacles. They're metaphorically obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to define success beyond money. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
yes, money is important. Don't get it twisted. That's one of the
Mm-hmm.
seven currencies of life. Make no mistake about that. But if you're only in it for the money, you might as well be a professional monopoly player, right? Because it's not just the money, it's the lessons. It's the lessons that we learn. It's the mistakes that we make. So we have to define success beyond money because that is going to be the foundation for whatever legacy that you leave in life. Quick story on that. I was doing a big speech, it was in Chicago, and ABC was covering the speech, and a sister asked me if I would do a short interview with ABC after the speech. So I said, sure. So she put the microphone in my face and she said, Dr. Fraser, what would you like on your tombstone? Now that took me back because nobody in my life
Mm,
at 80 years old had ever asked me that question.
mm.
So I said, wow, that's a great question. I said, let me think for a second. I said, well, a tombstone, at the top of the tombstone, Tavis, is the year you were born, then there's a dash, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's the year you die. The dash represents your entire body of work.
That's right.
Now, under that date is your name. And so I said, under my name, I only want two words. He mattered.
Mm,
Do you matter? To whom
mm,
and for what? And that's your personal responsibility, is to matter, right? That
mm,
ultimately will be your legacy when you define what you matter for.
mm.
We also have to embrace our identity. We have to embrace our cultural heritage. Make no mistake about that. We are awesome freaking people. We are God's first people. Unpack that
Oh
philosophically.
yeah.
Like we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves practicing cannibalism,
Mm,
right? Make no mistake about it. We are awesome people, but we don't know it. And so we have to study who we are, how powerful we are. We, I think, God's gift to humanity, and everything began with the African person. So we need that to keep us inspired and motivated and to be less than poor at what we do, right? Because we have it like that. So we take trips to Egypt and all over Africa once a year. And I'm telling you, if people ask me all the time, Dr. Fraser, you've been to Africa 31 times. If I was only to go one time, what country would you suggest I go to? I said, you need to go to Cairo.
mm.
You need to look in those pyramids and look in the Valley of the Kings and those tombs and see what's painted on those walls, right? They're blue black people,
Mm,
right? They're
mhm.
tan people. There's every color of black that exists today on those walls. That's how awesome we are. So we must understand how powerful we are. And we must preach and teach that. So another way to say that is I'm African centered. I'm African centered, and we think different than Eurocentric thinking. African centered thinking is different than Eurocentric thinking. I wrote about that in my book, Success Runs in Our
Mhm.
Way. What
Mhm.
is the fundamental difference between how white folks think? African and black folks think. And anybody that has that book, that whole answer to that question is on page 63. What is a Eurocentric worldview? Excuse me for expanding on this, but a Eurocentric worldview is very simple. Order is imposed by the stronger force. The stronger force gains the advantage by ordering the universe as it wishes. That's how Eurocentric people think.
Mm,
It's evident in their body of work historically.
mm,
Now, what is the African-centered worldview? The universe is active and alive, and the laws of nature reveal the inherent order as well as the Creator's divine laws. That's worldview. Two different, entirely different worldviews. So, Eurocentric thinking, very simple. Survival of the fittest promotes a drive for mastery and control of nature and the accumulation of possessions. That's Eurocentric thinking. What is African centered thinking? I'll finish with this. In the African centered thinking, there is a oneness of all things in life. and life is primary and must reflect a divine nature, and group maintenance, collectiveness, and sharing are essential. So we have to understand how we think, how
Mm.
it's different than the way they think,
Yeah.
act on the way that we think, and we will go back eventually
Yeah.
to you know dominating the world. I mean,
Let-
there are 8 billion people. There are 8 billion people in the world. Only 7% are white people.
yeah.
The other 93%, Tavis, are people of
Mm.
color.
What year? Let me ask you right quick. I'm watching my time here. What year? Remind me what year Success in Our that text came out. Success runs in our race.
It came out in 2000 and hold on,
I want to
2000
say it came
and
out before. Yeah, I thought it came out before
yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah. And the book is still available.
Yeah, yeah,
By the way,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I wrote it about 30 years
That's
ago.
what I thought. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was. I'm sorry. It came out. It came out in 2004.
Got it.
I'm sorry. It came out in 1996. I'm sorry. And
Yeah,
then they had a revised
in
edition, and that's what you
2004.
want to get. The
Yeah.
revised edition is on 2000 in
I,
2004.
I, I only asked that because I knew it came out in the 90s. I just couldn't remember what year it was. And so I asked that question about when it came out because you heard him writing in this book back in the 90s about Afrocentric thinking versus Eurocentric thinking. You heard him say, you heard him read the definition of Eurocentric thinking. And I'm just connecting the dots for you. Earlier today on this program, we talked about Stephen Miller and his quote to CNN today that the world is governed by force and power. You recall that conversation 2 hours ago? 2 hours ago, we quoted Stephen Miller. Eurocentric thinking, that the world is governed by force and power. So we go into Venezuela, we're going to take Greenland, we're going to threaten Colombia, we're going to threaten Cuba, the world is governed by force and power, said Stephen Miller. We quoted that just earlier today on this program as a footnote to what George Fraser just said about the difference in how they think and how we think. When we come forward, since he teed it up already, we'll talk directly about the 7 critical currencies of life. That's where we'll go next with Dr. George C. Fraser on Tavis Smiley.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. George C. Fraser, Chairman and CEO of FraserNet, author of the classic text, Success Runs in Our Race. Power networking is what he does. It's who he is. And we are always honored in the first week of this year to have him on this program to help us get our frame right for the year. You've missed a great first half hour of this program. If you missed any of it, check out the podcast. Again, it's posted later tonight. But now we push ahead as my time is getting tight on me with the 7 critical currencies of life that he teed up a moment ago. Take it away, Dr. Fraser.
Yes, I've already talked about a couple of them, but let me talk about the most important currency in life. And it's part of my talk that I wanted to give quickly on. We are fortunate to be able to die.
Yes.
We are fortunate to be able to die. Why is that, Dr. Fraser? Because it means that you have overcome, I should say, millions to one odds, Tavis Smiley. That's 5 million, 10 million, 20 million sperm cells going up your mom's fallopian tube. One is strong enough, breaks away, and impregnates your mom's egg, and Tavis Smiley was born. Tavis Smiley was born. Millions to one odds. Let me put that in perspective.
Yes.
The human species is 300,000 years old, as we know it, right? So if you're 50 years old, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, it means that it took 299,950 years for you to be born. To be born. And when you are born, you get the number one currency of life. You get time. Now, you don't know how much time you have, but you're given time. In fact, time is the only currency we spend, Tavis, without knowing your balance. I will tell anybody in a New York minute, do anything, but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time. And I don't know how much time I have, and I don't want to know, but don't waste your time.
Woo.
Use your time wisely, brothers and sisters. It's like I blink my eyes and I'm 80 years old. I ain't gonna live another 80 years. Now I'm in good health. People say I don't look 80, I don't act 80, and that's because I've taken care of myself, and we'll talk about that in the currencies of life. So time is the number one currency you are privileged to have out of 300,000-year-old species. You are miraculously born, and because you're born, you get to die.
Mm.
That's why I say you are fortunate to be able to
Oh yeah,
die because you were born
that's right.
against billions to one odds. So, what is the second currency of life? I've spent my life talking about this. Relationships, relationships, relationships. The most important asset you will have in the 21st century will not be AI or your computer. It will be your relationships, brothers and sisters. It will be your relationships. In fact, business, all of us in some kind of business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business.
Mm.
In fact, the business you're really in, you're in the business of building relationships. Now, there's a biblical passage on this, John 5:30. It's a direct quote from Jesus Christ. Of the 800,000 words in the Bible, only 1,200 of those words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. John 5:30. Jesus said, "I of my own self can do nothing." Now, this was Jesus, the Son of God, and he couldn't get it done on
Mm.
his own by himself in a vacuum. So, what's up with you?
Come on, Doc.
So, relationships are absolutely critical. No question about that. So, that's the second most important currency. What is the third most important? I already talked about it. Knowledge. Knowledge. You got to be able to know something so you can do something. So you got to read, you've got to be intellectually curious. You've got to be committed to lifelong learning. I'm 80 years old and I'm learning every single day. So relationships, number two. No, I'm sorry. This was number two was relationship. Number three was knowledge. Number four is your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Screw that up.
Mm.
Your character, your integrity. Screw that up and see what your life looks like
Mm.
when people turn their back and you enter the room. So protect your relationships, brothers and sisters. It's important, and that helps to protect your reputation. No question. So we said time, relationships, knowledge, reputation. What is the fifth? I've already talked about it. Resilience, your ability to bounce back. Yes, you're going to go through some stuff in life. No one is exempt, right? But you must get over that obstacle, learn the lessons, and apply the lessons and be resilient and come back. Understand this, that failing 49% of the time is still winning,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Is still winning.
Yeah.
Make no
Yeah.
mistake. So resilience, and there are endless, I can tell you endless stories that amplify that particular idea, the idea of resilience and the ability to bounce back. Now, the other one, and you can't leave it out, is one's health.
Mm-hmm.
Health. Now, I put it next to the seventh one, which is money and wealth, but your health is your wealth. Take care of your damn self. Absolutely. Um, it was 40 years ago. Quick story. Tony Brown, I invited him to Cleveland to speak, and he was waiting in our green room, and he had a little packet of pills. And I went over to him. I said, what are you taking? It was about 15 pills in there, and he was taking each one. He said, well, these are supplements and vitamins because I travel a lot. I don't eat right, but I've got to supplement my body with the pills that I need.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that went deep into my subconscious mind. And for 40 years straight, Tavis, every single day, 7 days a week, there is no vacation. I take 22 natural supplements every single day.
Mm.
That's why I don't look like I'm 80. That's why I have the vim and vigor of a younger person. It's because I travel a lot. I don't really eat right, although I have a wife of 52 years who cooks wonderful meals, but 80% of the time I'm not there. So I'm going to the pizza parlor, I'm going to the China, right? So you have to supplement and give your body the nutrients that it needs. That is the sixth currency of life. You could easily make it number two or number one, but your health is your wealth. And the seventh and most important, if you do the first six right, time, proper relationships, knowledge, have a good reputation, be resilient and bounce back. If you do those things right, you're going to get wealth. You're not going to be able to get out of the way of wealth. So
Mm.
you have to take care of yourself so that you can use your creative powers and your skills and the knowledge that you have to produce the money necessary to live the life you want you and your family to live. Very, 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 very important. So, those are the seven currencies of life. Each of them you spend,
Mm.
and either you can spend them wisely or you can screw it up.
Mm. There you have it, the seven critical currencies of life that you can spend wisely or you can screw it up, says Dr. George C. Fraser. More with him talking about your legacy or not when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Dr. George C. Fraser. We've talked about how fortunate we are to be able to die. A provocative spin, I think, on the value of life. We've talked about asking God for flowers and God giving us rain, and that the obstacle is the way. We've talked about the seven critical currencies of life and how we can spend them wisely or foolishly. The fourth point I promised we'd get to that Dr. Fraser uh, uh, teed me up on is this notion of legacy. Your legacy or not. Talk to me, Dr. Fraser, about legacy.
Yes, to realize one's personal legacy, this is my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
is the person's only real obligation.
Mm.
That's the real obligation that you must leave, right? Um, this is very, very important to understand. And let me just give you a scenario. Imagine 100 years from now, your great, 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 great grandchildren have a little library in their home, and they can go to that library and they can pull out a book that great, 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 great grandpa Tavis Smiley wrote of his thoughts,
Mm.
his challenges, how he solved those challenges. Now, you've already done that. But most of us, because we're an oral culture, I mean, we learn differently. We're oral, visual, tactile, kinesthetic, and auditory learners. Okay. So we're not heavy into writing. What I'm saying to every brother and sister, especially with the tools that we have with AI today, write your damn story. Write your story so that your great and the lessons you learned in doing in being your story. Write your story. Write a book. Leave that for future generations. And if each generation did that, you would have a library in your home over 100 years that will be an encyclopedia of stories from your own family members and what they learned. That's a very, very powerful thing. My father, Walter Frederick Fraser, he was an incredible human being. He was a New York City cab driver, made a fortune because he had the personality that was just brilliant, but he had a wonderful story, and I wish that there was some. I wish he had written it because I would probably read his story now, right, once a year, just to be inspired by what my father did to do what he to be what he wanted to be and to be happy doing it and to living a very fulfilling life, 11 children, and all of them having done fairly well. So that's legacy. You will have a legacy. You have a personal responsibility. You have to determine how do you matter and to whom do you matter. What have you done? What are the hills and valleys that you have overcome? How did you overcome them? And leave those lessons, which is your legacy, to future and succeeding generations. This is a extraordinarily important little piece that we can do. Now, we're making movies, no question about that. We're making music, which tells stories, and music tells stories, and all of that is good. But leaving it ink on paper for all time is, I think, one of the simple things, and it is much simpler today,
Yeah.
Tavis, than it's ever been, because you can get all the help that you
Oh
want. In
yeah.
fact, there are apps out here today, AI apps. All you have to do is talk your story,
Yeah.
right? And it will make it a story for you
Yeah.
in ways that people will love and understand and will be engaging. And some of those stories have become bestsellers.
Yeah.
If we were on a Zoom call and you could see my library where there's over 2,000 books, you will see that 35% of the books in my library are autobiographies and biographies,
Mhm.
people's stories. I'm very interested in how people, famous people, some not so famous, how they negotiated and navigated their lives.
Mm.
You learn from reading those stories. So
Nope.
you don't leave here
Yeah.
without writing your story. I'm not talking about a 600-page book or 200-page book, right? It could be a 100-page book, right? But there's no excuse not to be able to do it.
His
Tell your story, leave it for future generations.
his library looks like mine. I love biographies and autobiographies. My friends know that. You come in any one of my three libraries, you see the same thing. Of course, I talk to people about everything. So I have all kinds of books, but my preference, I love the stories of how people overcame. So Dr. Fraser and I are simpatico in that regard. Our remaining moments with Dr. George C. Fraser when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley, Dr. George C. Fraser. What an hour this has been. I've got less than 3 minutes, and I want to close with this. He wrote the book, Success Runs in Our Race. He is always talking about wealth building. That is the lane, one of the many lanes, of course, that he runs in. But I'm thinking about all these black families that are facing financial crises this year because of these Affordable Care Act subsidies that are expiring. I'm thinking of all the people in a variety of fields who look like George and yours truly, who are being put upon because of the anti-black agenda that Donald Trump is running. I'm in a media space. We're not getting the kind of money that we typically get from ad agencies because everybody's turning a blind eye to DE&I. They're not advertising with black-owned media, so everybody is catching it for one reason or another in this particular moment. What's your best advice to us, George, with the 2 minutes we have left, about how we navigate what we're up against, given that success does run in our race?
Um, wow, there's just so much going in my mind. A couple of pieces of advice. Some of them attached to the things that I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Understand money.
Yeah.
When money speaks, no one checks the grammar.
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure that you put yourself in a position for your money to speak, because it will be a power source for you. The other one is a wish that I have, and I wish that our sisters would leave this idea that they would rather have a baby than to be a wife. They would rather have a baby than to be a wife. That is destructive, and we need to fix that. Make no mistake about that. Um, Finally, very simply, I want to say, I talked about I asked for flowers and God gave me rain,
Mm-hmm.
but understand this, that water has no effect on fake flowers.
Mm.
So whatever you're doing to build your flowers, make sure it's real. Make sure it means something.
Yeah.
And finally, uh, a meta, a meta thought. If you can't build with them, don't chill with them.
Mm.
Right? Uh, that's the bottom line, and that's up to you. To you got to deliver yourself from still people,
Yeah.
still complaining, still about nothing, still doing nothing. You got to deliver yourself from that.
Yeah.
Those are fundamental
That's
things
it.
that are easy to remember, and then just check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's the bottom line.
Mic drop. If you can't build with them, don't chill with them. Uh, check yourself before you wreck yourself. He closes it as he always does. Dr. George C. Fraser, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful to you and thankful for you. I appreciate this time. I will talk to you soon, my friend. All the best to you.
I love you more, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I love it. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for listening to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.